Hello everyone. Now in this video I'm going to look at some more complex work on indices. So let's have a look then at question 5a and think about how we would approach something like that. So in question 5a we have got 4 to the power of 3 over 2. Now using the law of indices that a to the n to the m is equal to a to the n times m, we can break this down using the idea that 3 over 2 is in fact the same as 3 times by a half. That's the underpinning idea that we're going to be using in this next stage, because that enables us to use those two pieces of information, this one and this one, to write this as 4 to the power of a half cubed. Okay, because using this law, that's actually the same as 4 to the half times 3, and a half times 3 is 3 over 2. So this is a perfectly valid alternative way of writing this. So we're going to have something to the power of a half. Remember we learned a moment ago with square rooting. So that is going to be 2 cubed, which in turn is 8. So the answer to that one is 8. Okay. Let's look at one that's maybe a little bit more complicated. So let's have a look, for example, at p. Let's have a look at question 5p. So 5p, what have we got here in 5p? We have got 1 and 9 over 16, all to the power of minus 3 over 2. Now there's a lot going on in this one. The first thing I would recommend is that we replace the mixed number and change it into an improper fraction. So let's do that. So we're going to do 1 times 16 add 9. So that is 25 over 16. And already this is looking encouraging because 25 and 16 are both square numbers. When you have the negative, you may remember that if I have a to the minus n, that's the same as 1 over a to the n. So that means that I can take the reciprocal of this fraction and change the negative into a positive. So to remember it simply, you just flip the fraction and change the sign to positive. So I write that as 16 now over 25 is equal to 3 over 2. So I've just flipped the fraction, or taken the reciprocal to use the correct maths terminology, and I've changed the sign. Okay, once I've taken the reciprocal, I'm now going to break it down. So 16 over 25, I'm going to express as a half cubed. Because remember, 3 over 2 is equal to 3 times a half. So it's perfectly legitimate to write this in this way. Well, a half means square root, so power of a half means square root. So this is going to be 4 over 5, and the whole thing is cubed now. So we've got 4 over 5 cubed now for this one. And when I work that out, 4 over 5 cubed, that is going to give me 64, which is 4 cubed, over 125, which is 5 cubed. And that is our answer. So our steps were change it to from a mixed number into an improper fraction, take the reciprocal and change the negative into a positive, break this down into an appropriate form, square root in this case, this one, and then finally cube the answer. Okay, right, let's have a look at one more of this type. Perhaps we should try question 5R. 5R, let's have a look at this one. 5R. Okay, here we have got 2 and 10 over 27, all to the power of minus 4/3. Okay, so we're going to change it into an improper fraction. So that's going to go to 2 times 27 is 54, add 10, so that's 64 over 27 to the power of minus 4/3. We are now going to take the reciprocal of the fraction and write that as 27 over 64, but we're going to change the negative into a positive. So in going from this line to this line, I've flipped the fraction, taken its reciprocal, and changed the negative into a positive. Now I'm going to, 27 and 64 are both cube numbers, so I want to be having these to the power of 1/3, because that's another way of writing cube root. So I'm going to write this as 27 over 64 to the power of 1/3, all to the power of 4. Well, the cube root of 27 is 3, and the cube root of 64 is 4. So I can write that in that way. And now we have 3 to the power of 4, which basically is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is going to be 81. And we have 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 here in the denominator, which is 16 squared, which is 256. And so that answer is 81 over 256 for that one. Excellent. Okay, now that's like as complex as I think we need to be looking at for those. So definitely have a practice of some of these indices questions on the sheet. What I would like to look at in the next video is I would like to look at dealing with questions like we have here in question 14 and 15. Okay, so question 14 and 15, where we've got more complex things with powers. So I'll be talking about that in our next video.